You think you're building power. You're not. You're building a better cage, one with nicer furniture, a cleaner narrative, and a more convincing story about why you're still playing small. Look at your life right now. The people you keep around. The habits you protect. The things you refuse to say out loud. Every single one of them is a vote, and most of those votes are being cast against you by a version of yourself that's too afraid to admit it's obsolete. Niccolo Machiavelli didn't write The Prince for kings. He wrote it for men who understood that the world is not what people pretend it is. It is a game. It has always been a game. And the ones who rise, silently, methodically, without announcing it, are the ones who understood the rules that no one is allowed to say out loud. This video is those rules. Once you hear this, something will shift. Not metaphorically. Chemically. The way you read a room will change. The way you respond to manipulation will change. The way you carry yourself in silence will carry more weight than anything you've ever said out loud. This is not motivation. This is surgery. 10 things you must quietly eliminate to become powerful. Tell no one. Number 1. Eliminate the need to explain yourself. Most people live and die defending their decisions to people who never had the authority to judge them in the first place. You explain why you left. You explain why you said it. You explain your ambitions like they require approval to exist. And every time you explain, you transfer power. You hand the other person a position of authority over your choices, a position they did not earn and do not deserve. Machiavelli was clear on this. A prince who constantly justifies himself signals weakness. The very act of explanation implies that you need to be understood. Power does not need to be understood. Power simply is. Watch what happens in a room when a man stops explaining. People get uncomfortable. They push. They probe. They try to extract a reason. That discomfort you feel when you refuse to give it? That's not social failure. That's the moment the dynamic shifts. You don't owe anyone the architecture of your decisions. Burn this into your mind. The more you explain, the less you're believed. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is dominance. Stop explaining. Full stop. Number 2. Eliminate the habit of reacting in real time. You are being watched. Not always by people who hate you. Sometimes by people who love you. But everyone is watching to see what moves you, what cracks you, what makes you flinch. And every time you react instantly, you hand them a map to your interior. The average person lives inside their emotions like a man trapped in a burning building, running toward every exit that appears. Reactive. Frantic. Predictable. The powerful person is the architect. They choose which door to open. They choose when. They choose why. Think about the last time someone said something designed to destabilize you, an insult dressed as a joke, a critique wrapped in concern, a question shaped like a weapon. What did you do? Most people respond immediately. They defend. They deflect. They attack. And in doing so, they reveal exactly where the wound is. Machiavelli understood that a prince who could not master his own responses could not master anything else. Emotional reaction is legible. It is a text message written in real time to your enemy about your exact vulnerabilities. The discipline is this: introduce a gap. Between stimulus and response, build a space large enough to think in. Not forever. Not silence as avoidance. But enough of a pause that your response becomes a choice rather than a reflex. Comment: I respond, I don't react. When you stop reacting, people cannot calibrate you. When they cannot calibrate you, they cannot control you. That's the equation. Master the pause. Master everything. Number 3. Eliminate the people who know all your plans. There is a particular kind of self-sabotage that feels like intimacy. You find someone you trust, a friend, a partner, a mentor, and you pour your ambitions into them. Your goals. Your timeline. The vision you've been building in silence. And the moment you say it out loud, something dies in you. It's not their fault. It's physics. The brain releases dopamine when you share a goal, particularly when the listener responds with validation. The same dopamine it was supposed to release when you achieved the goal. You got the reward without doing the work. And now the work feels less urgent, because neurologically, some part of you already experienced a version of the win. This is not about secrecy for secrecy's sake. This is about understanding that the announcement is the enemy of the accomplishment. Weak men broadcast their intentions. Powerful men broadcast their results. Think about the people in your circle right now who know exactly what you're building. Now ask yourself, have you built less since telling them? Have their questions planted doubt? Has their skepticism cost you momentum? Has their enthusiasm, even genuine enthusiasm, made you feel like it's already done when it isn't? Your vision is not a social object. It is a weapon you are sharpening. And you do not show the blade until it's time to use it. Machiavelli wrote that men judge by appearances. What they cannot see, they cannot undermine. What they cannot undermine, they cannot stop. Write this down. Move in silence. Let the results make the announcement. Eliminate the audience from your becoming. They can watch the arrival. They don't get to watch the preparation. Number 4. Eliminate the compulsion to be liked. This one will cost you more than the rest combined if you ignore it. The need to be liked is a leash. You may not see the leash. You may have worn it so long that it feels like your own skin. But it is there. And everything you have not said, every room you have walked smaller in, every boundary you have swallowed, that is the leash tightening. Here's what they don't tell you. Likability and power operate on different currencies. The strategies that make you likable, agreeing, accommodating, softening, managing other people's feelings, are the exact strategies that bleed power. Not always, but often enough that the trade is worth examining. The people who are most effective in any room are rarely the most liked. They are the most respected. And respect is earned through a willingness to be misunderstood, to hold a position under pressure, to say the uncomfortable thing clearly and without apology. When you stop needing to be liked, something strange happens. Some people like you more. The ones with discernment. The ones worth knowing. Because they can finally feel where you actually stand. Machiavelli asked whether it is better to be loved or feared. Most people argue about the answer without noticing the real point. Both require that you hold a position. Indifference is the one thing power cannot afford. But the need to be liked is not a position. It is an absence of one. Choose respect. Let like be a byproduct, not a target. You are not here to be warm. You are here to be effective. If this is hitting something real, subscribe. This channel exists for the ones who are ready to hear this. Number 5. Eliminate the habit of speaking first. Information is currency. Every time you speak first, you spend before you earn. You reveal your position before you know theirs. You answer questions that haven't been asked yet. You fill silence that was working in your favor. Watch powerful people in conversation. They ask. They listen. They allow silence to breathe without rushing to kill it. They extract everything before they offer anything. And when they finally speak, the room has already leaned in. The average person speaks to be understood. The strategic person speaks to influence. These are completely different goals and they require completely different discipline. There is intelligence in listening that cannot be replicated by any amount of talking. When someone is speaking, they are handing you information, not just in what they say but in what they avoid, where they rush, where they slow down, what they repeat, what they never address. All of that is architecture. All of it tells you something about what they want, what they fear, and what they're hiding. You cannot collect that intelligence while you're talking. Silence makes people uncomfortable. That discomfort makes them talk more. The more they talk, the more you know. The more you know, the more power you hold in the interaction. Burn this into your mind. The person asking the questions controls the conversation. The person filling every silence controls nothing. Speak last. Speak less. Speak precisely. Number 6. Eliminate your visible hunger. Nothing announces weakness faster than want. Not the presence of ambition, that is necessary and correct, but the visibility of it. The desperation that leaks through. The approval seeking. The urgency that bleeds into your pitch, your posture, your eyes when the answer might be no. People can smell need. And the moment they smell it, the dynamic is decided. Every negotiation, every ask, every pursuit is downstream of one variable: who needs this more? And whoever needs it more has already conceded the upper hand. Machiavelli understood that the prince who appears desperate for alliance reveals that he is already in a weak position. You do not negotiate from desperation. You negotiate from a position of alternatives, real or constructed, but projected with absolute certainty. This applies to money, to relationships, to opportunities, to approval. Think about the last time you wanted something too much and the person on the other side could feel it. What happened? They moved slower. They asked for more. They took their time, because they understood implicitly that you would wait. That you had to. That you had no other option. They may have been wrong. But your visible hunger confirmed every assumption. The mask is not dishonesty. The mask is discipline. Learn to want things quietly. Pursue them with a coldness that reads as confidence. Make it unclear whether you need the outcome or merely prefer it. The moment you stop looking hungry, people start bringing you food. Comment: I move with detachment. Number 7. Eliminate the people who see you as you were. This is the one no one wants to say. The people who knew you before, the old neighborhood, the old job, the old version of you that was smaller, angrier, more afraid, they don't see who you're becoming. They see who you were. And every time you walk back into that mirror, you risk becoming the reflection it's holding. This is not about arrogance. This is not about forgetting where you came from. This is about understanding a psychological law. Identity is socially constructed. The people around you are constantly projecting a version of you based on their most recent data, their oldest memories, their most comfortable narrative. And you, being human, absorb that projection whether you mean to or not. The man who grew up being told he talks too much will feel, on some level, like he's performing when he speaks in public, no matter how far he has come. Because there's a voice in the room that's been there since childhood. And sometimes that voice belongs to someone who still loves him. Growth requires new mirrors. Not perfect people. Not yes men. New mirrors, people who see the version of you that is still becoming, not the one that already was. You cannot evolve in a room that only recognizes your old shape. This is not abandonment. This is architecture. Choose your environment like you choose your weapons. Deliberately. Strategically. Without sentimentality. Number 8. Eliminate the performance of business. There is a version of effort that is theater. You know people like this. You may be one. Always moving. Always overwhelmed. Always with something urgent to address, something pressing to manage, a calendar that looks impressive enough to justify why nothing is actually being built. Business is the camouflage that mediocrity wears to look like ambition. The powerful do not perform effort. They produce outcomes. These are categorically different. One is activity. One is result. One makes you feel productive. One makes you dangerous. Machiavelli cared nothing for the appearance of effort. He cared entirely for the outcome of strategy. The prince who exhausts himself in visible labor while achieving nothing is a prince who will be replaced by a man who rested, thought, and moved once, precisely. Stop filling your days with motion that produces no momentum. Stop mistaking communication for progress, meetings for decisions, planning for action. The world does not reward the well-scheduled. It rewards the effective. Ask yourself honestly, if you removed every action you took last week that was performance, that was designed to be seen, to signal effort, to communicate that you're working, what would remain? That remainder is your actual output. For most people, it's terrifying. Write this down. Eliminate the theater. Build the result. Move in ways that produce. not in ways that impress. Number 9. Eliminate the tolerance for being disrespected slowly. This one is subtle and it is lethal. It rarely arrives as an obvious insult. It arrives as a joke that wasn't quite a joke. A boundary pushed once and not corrected. A tone that's slightly off, a dismissal in public that's too small to call out, a promise broken quietly. And you say nothing. Because it's not big enough. Because you don't want to seem sensitive. Because the relationship is important. Because you tell yourself it was nothing. And it happens again. And again. And after enough repetition, the dynamic is set. They now know, not consciously, but the body always knows, that this is a relationship where they can take. And you are someone who can be taken from. Machiavelli was clear. An injury must be done all at once, so that it is forgotten quickly. The slow injury, the drip, is the most corrosive. Because it doesn't arrive with enough force to provoke a response. It just accumulates. Until your silence has become consent. The correction does not need to be dramatic. It does not need to be public. In fact, public reactions are often the sign of someone who waited too long. The man who corrects immediately, quietly, and with absolute certainty does not need to raise his voice. His correction lands with more weight than any explosion. The first time it happens is information. The second time is a decision. You make the decision. Tolerate nothing slowly. Address everything precisely. And let your consistency in this matter be so well established that most people never even test the boundary in the first place. Comment. I do not absorb what I do not accept. Number 10. Eliminate the old version of yourself. This is the hardest one. Not because it requires the most action, but because it requires the deepest honesty. Every identity you are attached to was built for a version of your life that is already ending. The story you tell about why you can't. The wound you keep polished because it explains the limitation. The comfort you've chosen over the discomfort that would have made you unrecognizable by now. That version of you, the one that needs validation, reacts without thinking, explains itself to rooms that don't deserve the explanation, tolerates what it should correct, performs instead of produces, shares its plans with people who dilute them. That version has to die. Not metaphorically. Structurally. In every decision you make from this moment forward, that version of you is not consulted. You don't grieve it. You don't honor it. You recognize what it was, a survival mechanism, a product of its environment, doing the best it knew how, and then you leave it. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous men in history were not the ones born into power. They were the ones who chose to become something their origins never prepared them for. They made a decision that was irreversible. And because it was irreversible, they had no choice but to grow into it. The decision comes first. The identity follows. You do not wait until you feel powerful to act powerfully. You act. And the acting, repeated, disciplined, without the need for an audience, reshapes everything from the inside out. The old you was built by circumstance. The new one is built by choice. That is the only real difference between the powerful and the powerless. Not talent. Not resources. Not luck. Choice, made clearly, made permanently, and executed without announcement. This is where most people stop watching. They got uncomfortable somewhere in the middle, or they recognized something they're not ready to face, and they clicked away. That's fine. This wasn't made for them. If you're still here, something in you already knows this is true. Not because I told you. Because you've lived the opposite long enough to feel what it costs. You already know what to eliminate. You've known for a while. The question was never knowledge. It was permission. You don't need permission. You are not the person who walked into this video. That person is already behind you. Move accordingly. Comment. I am not who I was.